I know that in Iowa, in the United States, around the world, there are so many folks who are unhoused, who are sleeping outside. We've come across a way to take regular grocery bags that many of us don't even bother to recycle and turn them into a sleeping mat. Our mats, when they get finished, are about 6 feet long by 3 feet wide. They are designed to keep the moisture out. It's not a mattress. It's not a soft, cushiony thing. It's made to keep them dry as they sit on the ground as they sleep. And so as we go through this time of instruction, hopefully we'll show you some tips and techniques to get them this tight. The mats are woven on a loom, which we have available here at Midwest Mission. We also have the patterns if you have a carpenter who wants to try making one. These mats, when you finish them, they will have taken you probably 25 to 30 hours. And you can have anywhere from 4 to even 10 or 12 people weaving. They're designed to be done by a group. They're not necessarily designed for you to do them on your own. When you talk to people in your town, in your church, you're gonna need bags. And they're gonna come in just like this. As the bags come in, one of the jobs, first of all, is to sort our bags by color. And what we have discovered is that we love to use Fairway bags or Best Choice bags, which is your small independent grocers, or Target bags with our long strips. They're heavier. And it's really important that you have a heavy bag so that you can get a firm foundation for your mat. It's also very important that your plastic is same weight. Again, it gives you more consistency. When you go to cut the bags, first of all, is square up the bags. Open them up, but then you want to flatten them out so that you want to get that pleated piece inside. Fold your bag. And when you have them one at a time, you can see what you're going to be doing. You're going to cut off the bottom inch or so. You're going to cut probably an inch or a couple fingers below the lowest point at the top. And then you're going to cut the bag in half. Now, when we get to actually begin weaving, someone asked me, how many bags does it take to weave a mat? Well, the long way on the loom takes 125 bags total. So we got some bags cut, and then we simply take the pieces. You're going to take a loop, run it through your fingers. You're going to put one piece over the other, reach through, hang on to the knot in the end, and you're going to get a knot. You're going to have 50 of these in a ball, and then just like when you're making a ball of yarn, you just wrap them up. This is the size ball you'll get. This is 25 bags rolled up. It takes about 5 of those to string a loom. So when you go to start, you can start in any of the corners. I'm going to let you do this, Dawn. Go over the rod.
Over the rod.
Over the rod. And then we're going to come down here. And we're going to wrap it 1, 2, and you want them tight but not taut. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now when you've done that, then you're going to go from peg to peg. We're on the first peg down here. First peg there. No, go the same way I'm going. Yep. And you just keep them going. This is the last loop in that string. We're going to lay that down. We're going to put the first loop in this one over the top. You're going to reach through and pull the whole ball through, Don't let too much of it unroll. And then you're going to grab the knot to the knot and just pull it. And then you just keep going. So here we are. We've got everything. When you get to the very end, you go from, as I said, you go from peg to peg. You get down here to the end. You're going to come around. You're going to go around the rod. Then you're going to come down and you're going to do the same 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're going to come back and you're going to find a place below where you're coming back, anywhere, and figure out a way to get a knot tied in it to make it secure, and then it'll hold. So this is ready. When you start the weaving, when you start at the very end, when you first begin, if you do a color other than white, it helps you see what you're doing. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take the piece and just smooth them up so you've got them condensed. So we're going to start with these two together. We're going to begin by going underneath the rod and all the plastic that's around the rod. And you're going to push your piece through. You're going to bring the second end of it up and pull it, and it's on. And then all of the loops around each peg is one strand. So you're going to have 2 pieces to work with. See what we're doing? So you've got 2 on each one of these. When you come to the rods at the end, all the plastic that's around the rod is treated as one. And it doesn't matter whether you go over first or under first. Now we're back to what we did in kindergarten. And you just go under and over and under and over. Let's take a look and make sure that every peg is under, over, all the way across. Check yourself on this first row really carefully. You're going to wrap it all the way under, pull the whole piece, okay. And now you want to go over the opposite of what you had. Yep. And what you have to do as you're going is keep your pieces kind of straight. Okay, now I'm going to, this is where having 2 people, you get going and you go about halfway over, and I'll pick it up from here and go over. You can do it yourself and get your steps in, or you can have a friend be there, and we're not going to pull them right now. We're not going to push them together or anything yet.
So you don't want this tight on the end?
You don't want it tight on the end. Yeah, that's plenty tight on the end, and you'll see why when we get going.
Okay. So this comes up, down.
Yep.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. Now that's where you want to keep your finger so that you don't. Yep. And then and don't pull it at all if you can do it. Okay. And it's, well, we'll show you why. We're gonna finish these last 2 pieces. Whoop. That's okay. All right. There you go. And you can see how loose we're leaving this. That's on purpose. Okay. Now, the next step, you do these 4 or 5 rows like a kindergartner, really loose. Now start at that side and use your fingers and comb them down. Now this is how much I have left, and I want you to watch and see. And you're going to want to line this top row up, Dawn, about with the top of the board.
Okay.
But you're going to want to comb it with your fingers. Because when you get all done, you shouldn't see. This part of the mat should have no white in it. And when you see how tight you have to push it, you have to pack it in. You have to pick them up and move them over or under the knots. Weave 4 or 5 rows loose. Comb them back with your fingers. Now we're going to do another 3 or 4 rows. If you aren't careful what you're doing with these, you can get big old clumps of plastic And you don't want that. You want them nice and smooth. And so this one, we're just gonna have to massage it in a little better. And again, if you grab on each side of the plastic, you can get it pretty smooth. Okay, now we're gonna do a little magic here. And we're gonna see how tight we can get this, how packed we can get it. And you can see how far down we're getting. I'm clear up here now. So we'll see where we end up when we get all these packed in across. Now, this is still pretty light, so let me show you a trick. And this is the secret. And especially when you're going over the knots, you can see how tight we're getting this packed in. Now, we're going to stop at this point because we want to start the other end, because we want to have more people joining us. So, I want you, Dawn, to pick up the plastic that's around the third peg and follow it all the way down to the other end. And I'll follow those two pieces all the way down to the end.
Okay.
And you will see you are a left and a right.
Yes.
Because we wove from peg to peg. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is put a clothespin around these two. Now you can go across, all the way across, and we're going to pin one from each peg on this second end. Give yourself a little bit of room. End B is different than end A, but you want to meet in the middle. I'm going to take all the plastic that's around this pole all the way down. On that side, you took one out of your wad of plastic to come to the first peg. Mm-hmm. On this side, I'm taking this one, the piece on this one, and it's all going to fit in here. And yes, it's a whole wad of plastic. Okay,
this
so
comes up here.
Yep.
And then I
go through.
All right, we'll get her right. All right, now.
Here we go. Now we're ready to go.
Now.
Pay attention just to the clothespins. Okay, this now becomes just like that last one. When you get 3 or 4 rows done, you're going to bring this first row to about an inch, or about even with the edge of your frame. Pull these others down smoothly, comb them down, and it's really hard to comb them tight until you get to the second set. But you're going to do that, and when you get another set of 4 or 5 done, you'll take the clothespins off, and you're weaving with one strand that has 2 sets of plastic on each one of them. End A matches end B, and that's the way it goes. So we're going to go over here. I want to show you a couple things. We talked about mistakes, and we had a mistake in row 1. If this mat has been started and tightened quite well, and as we got weaving down here, we realized somebody missed a loop. Well, I'm not going to take out 3 or 4 rows. We just continue, but as we get going, we'll fix it as we go along. You know, we're not perfect. Life isn't perfect. The mats aren't going to be perfect. So you just, if you can work them out, just do that. Each loom has sets of eyelets that the rod has gone through. The eyelets are measured across from each other. So when you're weaving, you want to make sure that your strip is level, is even when you go across. And so you go until you get to the middle, and then you find a way to tie it. Make sure your knot, when you tie it off, is somewhere in the middle and not on the edges. You're not going to have any knots that you tie until you get right to the middle. Everything is done with a looped on piece of plastic.
And then you're tying the 2 together.
And so you're going to go from end A to end B all the way through, and you're going to meet somewhere. You might have some creative weaving when you get in here in the middle because you're going to be packing them in. But just keep working at it, That's it for this section. So when you have your mat completely finished and you've checked it out and you've checked that there aren't any loose little whiskers and things sticking up, oh, there's one we should probably trim. The plastic bags just seem to do that crazy stuff. You're going to weave until it gets tight in the middle. You're going to pull out the long rods, which we've already done with this loom, and pop your mat off the little hooks. Then you have to get it off the very ends, and this is kind of the tricky part. What you're going to want to do is remember that everything that is around the eye hook or a dowel is one piece. And you're going to start at one end, and you're going to pull everything that's around the end. That's one. Then you're going to take what's around the first hook, the first dowel, and put it through. You're going to put the new piece through the old, and you're going to go all the way across, putting the new piece, the new loop. Some people call this a daisy chain stitch. You can do it with a crochet hook if you want to. I personally find it's easier to do just with my fingers. You want to make sure that you have all of the loops of plastic going through as one piece, just like when you were weaving. You're going to go all the way across the top. Put the new piece through the old one, pull up the whole loop. New through the old, new through the old, all the way across. When you get down to the end, take what's on the first peg, put that back through, or the last peg, put that back through the loop. Now you're going to want to take everything that's around the eye hook. There should be 3 loops, and you're going to push that all the way through. Now, what do you do with this? Well, you take a loop, just like when you were weaving. Put it up through, and bring your end, just like when you attached it at the very, very beginning, and pull it. Now, you're going to take this piece, and I go a couple of rows in and a couple of, well, yeah, I'm going 2 rows down and 1 row in, and I'm going to push, this is the tail of that loop, and I'm going to push it all the way through, and I'm going to pull so tight that that knot came up through. And then we're going to take this piece, and we're just going to weave back through. Because it's off the loom, you can do this. Because you've woven it tightly, it may be a little tough to get it through. You want to just smooth it all the way out, pull that, and you've got a nice rounded edge. No tails, no strings, no knots. When you get down, that's probably far enough. And I'm going to take my scissors, and I will cut this piece. I'm going to take one of them and go under. I'm going to weave it. I've got to find the hole here, and it's hard. If you've woven it tightly, it's hard to get the piece through, but you use your fingers, push it through, then bring it back up, and then you've got 2 pieces. Tie a square knot or a granny knot, whatever you come up with, and you're going to clip it, and clip it close. These you put in your recycle bin, and there's your ending. You can see how nice and smooth this is. I've already done the other end, and I'll show you what it looks like. This was on a piece of black. We used some black bags at the very ending, and this whole ending, you can see how very nice and smart. Now there was a knot here. That's okay. But because it's all looped, and you can see very clearly how every loop has gone all the way through. We're going to put a handle or a carrying handle on it. What we're doing is we're either crocheting or braiding with about a 5 or 6 inch piece of loop of plastic. We loop them together, and we get a long chain that's about 9 to 10 feet long. Just figure out how to tie it somewhere at the top. Quite often I will come through even in this very top and just tie it up with a double knot. This particular one, it's been tied. I'm going to trim the ends off, and then you can roll it up and you'll have a beautiful mat.